to the 191st episode of Maryland's Missing and the Murdered. Maryland's Missing and the Murdered is a weekly YouTube channel that covers the topic of missing and or murdered individuals from the state of Maryland. If you like this channel, please like and subscribe and click the bell so you'll be notified when the next cases are released. This week, I'm covering the disappearance of Cathy Ford from Gorman, Maryland. 19-year-old Cathy Ford lived in Gorman, Maryland. She worked at Old Mill Restaurant, which was owned by her parents. On February 17, 1988, at 1 p.m., Cathy received a phone call at the restaurant. She refused to tell her co-workers about the reason behind the call. She left work, went home, and took a shower. At around 2 p.m., she returned and picked up her purse. Her co-worker noticed that she was dressed up. Ms. Ford drove her Ford Bronco on Route 50 into West Virginia and turned off at Bismarck Road. She was never seen again. Cathy Ford was secretly seeing a deputy sheriff named Paul Farrell while she had a boyfriend, Darvin Moon. Paul lived in West Virginia in a trailer directly across from Gorman over the Potomac River. Paul was also seeing another woman named Kathy Bernard. On the evening Cathy Ford disappeared around 8:30 p.m., Paul was at a bowling alley with friends. He was told that a woman had been calling the bowling alley for him. When he called the number, Cathy answered, according to Paul anyway. According to Paul, Cathy was crying and was asking to see him. Although she wanted to see him at his trailer, they agreed to meet at the high school parking lot. Paul claimed that he waited there for 20 minutes, but Cathy never showed up. By this time, her parents had already called the police and reported her missing. The next day, on February 18th, Cathy's parents and her boyfriend Darvin began putting up missing person flyers and began to search for Cathy. Darvin found out that Cathy was seen near Paul Farrell's trailer the day before and that there was unexplained smoke near there. When Paul Farrell heard about the smoke, he went into the woods to investigate. Paul discovered Cathy's burned-out vehicle less than 200 yards from his trailer. He did not investigate the car further and did not notify authorities of the discovery. An anonymous letter was sent to Cathy's parents' restaurant claiming that Cathy had run away and wanted her parents to know that she was safe. Initially, Paul Farrell denied writing the letter. However, an FBI handwriting expert later proved in court that he did so. Paul claimed finally that he wrote the letter because he wanted people to stop searching, and he also did not want them to find Cathy's car in his backyard. 3 weeks after she vanished on March 8th, the car was rediscovered by Darvin and Cathy's brother Rich. On March 11th, the FBI searched the area. They found no trace of Cathy's body or any evidence that proved that she had been there. Fire and rust had destroyed any fingerprints that may have been left on the car. 8 days later, on March 19th, the FBI searched Paul Farrell's trailer. They discovered a new carpet in his bedroom, so they pulled it up and discovered blood on the floor, wall, and ceiling. DNA could not definitively say it was Cathy's blood, but it was from a woman. On March 20th, 1988, Paul Farrell was arrested and charged with Cathy's murder, kidnapping, and arson. On March 25th, 1988, police found a wristwatch of the type given to Miss Ford by her father near a small burn area behind Mr. Farrell's trailer. The trial began on January 25, 1989. An FBI expert testified that during one interrogation, he gave Paul a hypothetical scenario about Cathy's murder. While doing so, he said he observed signs of guilt through his body language. And he also testified that Paul nodded in agreement with the scenario. Also noticed in the trial was that the day after Cathy vanished, Paul had ripped out and burned the carpet in the master bedroom of his trailer. He claimed that it had stains and a foul odor, but his girlfriend, Cathy Bernard, and his landlord both claimed that they had not seen the stains or noticed an odor coming from the carpet. Also revealed in the trial was that Paul told a volunteer searcher that she called off the search for 48 hours because police found, quote, solid evidence, end quote. He later told the searcher that she should search everywhere except Bismarck and Cherry Ridge roads. When asked why they should not search those roads, Paul explained that evidence was found on those roads. And the Ford Bronco that Miss Ford was last seen driving was found right along the river off of Bismarck Road. A few days later, after the disappearance, he had called Cathy Bernard from Pennsylvania, and he had asked her to call Cathy's family to tell them that she was all right. And then a few days after that, he sent the anonymous letter to the restaurant. Farrell's neighbor, Kim Nelson, testified during the trial that she could see his trailer from her home. She testified that on February 17th, between 1 and 2 p.m., she heard banging and screams coming from Paul's trailer for about a minute, followed by a gunshot. A man then drove out in a light blue car. In court, she identified from a photograph that it was Paul Farrell's car that she saw leaving. And the man drove back 1/2 hour later and drove out again later in the afternoon, at which time she saw a side view of the driver. The following day, Ms. Nelson testified that she had saw the same man burning something out in back of Paul's trailer. Ms. Nelson first learned the name of Paul when she recognized his picture in the newspaper after his arrest. On February 4th, 1989, Paul Farrell was convicted of the charges and sentenced to a minimum of 15 years. After the trial, Kim Nelson, the neighbor, claimed that, quote, words were put in her mouth, end quote. The prosecutor denied all of it and that he believed Kim was being influenced to take back her statement, and that Paul's family was pressuring her to do that. After the trial, a journalist began to look into the case and allegedly found a couple from Gorman, Maryland, who thought they saw Cathy working as a waitress in Tennessee in December 1989. During this time, Paul was appealing his conviction. In 2001, the West Virginia governor commuted his sentence, making him eligible for parole, which was granted in May 2004. Paul, to this day, maintains his innocence. However, Cathy Ford's body has never been located. Thank you for joining me this week. If there's a Marilyn's Missing or Murder case you'd like to see on this channel, email me at marilynsmissing@gmail.com. Twitter is Marilyn's M&M. Music is by Silent Vengeance. Sources will be listed in the outro. I'll see you again next week. Be kind to one another. You never know what will happen tomorrow.